Welcome to Media Curious. I'm Karen Kring, and today I'm welcoming Cheryl Corley to the show. Cheryl is one of NPR's correspondents based in Chicago. She covers the Midwest and beyond for the national desk and serves as a criminal justice reporter. In recent years, Cheryl has reported on the campaign and re-election of President Barack Obama, the efforts by Illinois officials to rethink the state's juvenile justice system, youth violence in Chicago, political turmoil ever present in Illinois state government, and most recently, the cost of police misconduct. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
How's the pandemic treating you?
Well, I'm still here. I'm kicking and working.
Kicking and working. You're working at home.
Working at home. Yeah, absolutely.
Your usual digs when you're editing are on Navy Pier. So are you?
No.
No.
Gone from Navy Pier for a while.
Oh, really? Okay.
Nobody
tells me anything.
We're in the what used to be called the Stone Container Building.
Oh, sure.
Right across the street from the Cultural Center.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic.
Right across from Millennium Park.
I know. Yeah.
I called it being back in the real city.
Yeah. Good. Everything's a little closer, right? When you're on Navy Pier, that's kind of surreal.
Yeah.
So how is it the pandemic influenced your coverage?
Oh, well, I do a lot of COVID coverage for NPR, as well as covering criminal justice. So done some stuff about, a lot of people being released from prison and jails because of COVID concerns. And, just a lot of, I'm in the mix on the COVID coverage.
Sure. Okay. I was also wondering if you're able to get your sound via the phones and via the internet.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Mostly, so many press conferences are held by Zoom now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or by Facebook, or I do a lot of phone interviewing. But there's a little we use an app. Here's the inside scoop.
Thank
you. Where it's you talk on a cell phone. You use this app and then upload your audio, so it sounds much more broadcast quality.
Cool.
So
Okay.
It doesn't sound like telephone at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works.
So you're doing more of that, it sounds like, lately.
Mm-hmm.
So journalism. You majored at Bradley University in speech
and theater.
And what brought you to journalism?
Work mostly.
Okay.
I worked at the radio. While I stayed in Peoria, where Bradley University is located, and I worked at the radio station, WCBU, and I also worked at the NBC affiliate, Channel 25, and at the time at CBU, I started off as an announcer, classical, jazz, all of that sort of thing. And there wasn't a newsroom there at the time. When I was working at Channel 25, I worked in production. I was a floor director, worked my way up to being a director. So I directed the newscast. And then as CBU actually started a news department, and I ended up working news at CBU and directing the newscast at Channel 25. So I was a reporter during the morning and a director during the afternoon and evening, and that's how it worked. That's basically how I got into.
How you got into there?
Yeah, I did take one journalism class at Bradley.
Oh, okay, good.
And, had this awesome professor who scared the crap out of everybody, and who made sure this is how it was. If you could have a perfect paper, right? You could do this wonderful kind of thing, journalism thing.
Pithy prose.
If you got one little thing wrong, he would say F-E, big red letters, which was fact error.
Okay.
And that was it.
Yeah.
No matter how good the rest of the paper was, if you got an F-E, that was it.
Yep. You're done.
Paul Snyder was his name. I'm sure that there are people across Illinois who went to Bradley still trembling.
Yeah. There's a Medill F too that goes something like that too. I've heard.
Yeah.
Hey, when I introduced you, I mentioned that you're with the national desk. And what does that mean to be on the national desk?
Well, there are a number of reporters across the country who cover national news. So NPR has several desks. There's a science desk, there's an arts and kind of culture desk, there's a business desk, there's the Washington desk, which covers most of the politics of the day. And the national desk covers all of the events, including some politics, at least how people are reacting to the political news of the day. And so the national desk covers all things national.
All things national. Mm-hmm. Do you have weekly meetings, daily meetings with the desk?
The criminal desk, so I belong to a kind of criminal collaborative.
Okay.
And so there are 3 NPR reporters who belong to that, along with our editor. So we have a weekly meeting, but we're in constant contact with each other via Slack or some other way. In addition to that, the national desk does have a weekly meeting. And then throughout all of this COVID, during the COVID era, NPR has a weekly all staff meeting as well.
Okay.
And but the kind of editorial stuff happens weekly, and you talk to your editor a lot. So that's basically how it works.
Yeah. Okay. How is it? Is it at those meetings that it's decided what exactly you're going to cover, or how does that get done?
No. Well, it happens in a couple of different ways. I'll propose things, and I keep an eye on what's happening in the criminal justice world. And specifically, I try to keep an eye on what's happening in the juvenile justice arena, and also what's happening with women. I've been able to get a few stories on about women. I did a story in Washington State about how women in particular prison there are allowed to keep their children up until 15 months. And they run another program there, which is an apprenticeship where they learn different trades and then come out, and have a kind of a leg up with unions, and that can go directly into a apprenticeship and good paying job. So that sort of thing is happening there. So I'll propose things. My editor might suggest things. The shows themselves, All Things Considered and Morning Edition, might want a particular story, and that might come my way as well. The editors are in meetings like all day, it seems. So, so that's how a lot of that works.
So you're not just chasing headline news, you might be chasing a story that relates to the headlines, but you don't.
Or is much more, on my own, like the Washington prison story, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
A headline news story. But we've done a lot of looking at, policing and how it's changing, the push for change. And so that is sort of related to the headlines, but what exactly is happening with that, and where have things changed, and what are people doing as a result of this call for either defunding the police or reimagining the police, those sorts of stories.
You received a Turkle Award eons ago in the 90s.
Yeah, I was in the very first group that received the Studs Turkle Award. So at the time, they told me that they wanted, they were looking at beginning reporters, mid-career reporters, and veteran reporters.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the nice way you say.
Old ones.
Yeah. So at that time,
Mm-hmm.
I was in the beginning group.
Yeah.
And, was
And
very
you,
happy to
and
get that.
you were known for and are known for digging a little deeper and getting the third source, getting the people who are paying attention to people who are affected by policy.
Yeah. And actually at that time too, I was covering City Hall.
Ah, okay.
So I had a lot of, Harold Washington, was known for covering the administration at that time, and going into neighborhoods and talking to people and that sort of thing. So it was fun.
Yeah, good. What do you think you owe your listeners?
Well, truth.
Truth, yeah.
I owe them truth and a good story.
Truth they can swallow.
Truth, a good story, a well-written, often a sound-rich kind of picture of, here is where you are. And that's what I owe listeners. Any journalist owes a listener, truth and light, I call it.
Truth and light. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What might people be surprised about the nature of your job?
Probably where we record sometimes, especially being at home.
Mm-hmm.
Even I'm surprised sometimes by how good it can sound coming from my closet, So, yeah. So how we record, even when we're on the road sometimes, you're looking for if the closet doesn't work because you don't want it to be too echoey.
Right.
You'll be in a bed with covers pulled over your head and your microphone, in your mouth. It's really kind of strange and odd.
Yeah.
But you get good sound in the radio. That's
under a quilt.
Yeah, under a quilt. Yeah.
What does your average day look like, or tend to look like? Or do you have an average day?
Not really.
Yeah.
I like to tell people that sometimes I have pulled more all-nighters as a journalist than I ever did in school. And so sometimes it kind of depends on, what I was doing in my career at the time, what my days look like. So now, my days can be very early because, I need to look at the day book schedules. I need to read newspapers and all of that. So, it can be as early as like it's 5:30 or whatever, because I need to send my editor kind of, the daily, what I have planned, and here are the things that are happening too in the Midwest or in criminal justice that, she and other editors need to be aware of, so shoot that daily note out and then start on whatever story that I'm working on.
Gotcha.
Give you an example. I was supposed to be talking about the differences in the criminal justice approaches of the Trump administration and what a Biden administration, or what Biden has proposed as a candidate. And was going to talk about that, and a couple of other reporters we were going to do this roundtable discussion about other things. I can't remember what they were going to talk about, but I was going to talk about the criminal justice thing. But got a phone call early in the morning that said, "Oh no, just found out that president has tested positive for COVID. Yeah. So we're switching you today. You're going to talk about contact tracing and what's happening at all of the locations where the president has been recently." So that's where my
so things will change on a dime.
Yeah, they can change. Yeah. So, and sometimes, depending on your editor too, they can, what they like to say, I protected you, you'll be able to work on the story you were working on, because we shifted it to somebody else. Yeah. So that's how it works.
So you're busy, you're pulling all-nighters, but somehow you find time to take on leadership positions for the Association for Women Journalists and the National Association of Black Journalists. What draws you to doing that work?
Well, I've always thought it's important to do that type of work and to be engaged with other journalists. I think sharing information with other journalists is helpful. Helps other people's careers, younger journalists helping younger folks in different ways. And just being involved with your profession, I think it is a good thing. You stay aware of, what's going on in your profession. You can help change your profession in a variety of ways. As you know, since you were also with the Association for Women Journalists, we did that. I was proud when I was a part of the organization to do the survey about, kind of where women stand. In the industry.
Yep, I remember it.
And those sorts of things. And I think the National Association for Black Journalists, the Chicago chapter, has just been going gangbusters at all sorts of things that we do there. Just had a forum recently about mental illness and mental health and how journalists, what they have to deal with as they cover stories, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about violence in the streets, whether it's about protests, those sorts of things. And also kind of recognizing people who kind of laid the path, right?
Yeah.
So recently, I had 4 of the kind of trailblazing Black photographers who would work for Chicago newspapers coming in and do a forum. So that was kind of fun to hear from them. And also all of the press secretaries who had been press secretaries for the mayors, starting from Washington to Emmanuel. So that was kind of good to hear them and their perspective. So trying to, bringing that kind of information for not just journalists, but for the general public. I think it's fun. It's good. It's history.
Yeah.
And just
NABJ has also started a new scholarship in honor of a photographer who worked for ABC.
Yeah.
WLS TV. Yeah. So
a lot of good stuff. Yeah. And both organizations have had, scholarships and bringing people along. And I think that that's important to do.
Can you think of a moment or a story or just a time where you said to yourself, this is why I do this job. This is what this is why I'm dedicated to it.
I'd probably say there's several stories, and it depends on, what type of story it is.
Right.
In 2005, I was part of the crew that covered Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
I was down in New Orleans a lot. So I did a lot of reporting there in 2005 and 2006. And, I thought that was really crucial to be able to tell the stories of people who had gone through such trauma. And also to tell the story of how resilient people can be. And I thought you saw that a lot in New Orleans, and you see that a lot in tragedies and in disasters. And I've covered quite a few of those.
Yeah.
But I think New Orleans was probably a good example of this is why you are a journalist. And then on another note, been able to host some of the NPR's programs and gotten a chance to interview some people that I'd really like to interview. And such as the singer Rhiannon.
Ah, okay, cool.
I'm not talking about the popular. There are a couple of popular singers,
right.
But this is Rhiannon, the jazz vocalist, the improviser, who I just loved and loved, and was able to interview her, did a big long profile and all of that. And then also got to meet her in person later. And so that was kind of cool. So
cool.
Being in the position where you're able to do that kind of thing, kind of cool.
So if she saw you in the grocery store line, she'd recognize you?
I'd make sure she did.
Yeah. I'd remind her.
Yeah, I'd remind her. Yeah. I'm the one, remember? But people get that all the time. So, I wouldn't be upset if.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that happens with me. You remember when I talked to you, 1975 or whatever,
Yeah.
That one time,
Carol Maureen and I once had a short conversation about how I will sometimes introduce myself as, hi, I'm still Karen Kring, meaning you've met me before. Don't hurt yourself trying to remember. If you look familiar, I can't remember your name. We'll just cut to the chase.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'll still do that with some people. I'll introduce, I'm Cheryl Corley, and they go, oh, I know who you are, or whatever. But
well, it allows them to say that at least. Oh, I know who you are. Yeah, sure you did.
But it's also, it also helps, people if, so they're not sitting there going, how do I know?
Exactly.
Who are
what? You're not doing TV.
Sometimes I do TV, and it's amazing how more people recognize you or me from the TV that I've done. Because sometimes I'll do Channel 11 or whatever.
Sure.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I always find it. I'm always pleased when I can see a radio, one of your colleagues on TV, because then I could put the voice in the face and put it all together as, know who I'm looking at. Terry Gross, she does not look like her voice to me. And I'm just fascinated by that.
Well, here's a funny story about that, because at NPR, we're in a different building now, but in an old building at the headquarters in Washington, D.C., there used to be a meeting room where all the editors would get together. And we used to have a national desk fly-in, where all the national desk reporters from across the country would come in for, a couple of sessions or whatever we're doing. And so as we would get, and these are people who worked at NPR in the Washington, at the headquarters, right? And we would all be coming in, getting off the airport, and they would all be sitting there because, a lot of them hadn't seen us, and we would say something and they'd go, oh, that's Cheryl.
Let me close my eyes and maybe I'll hear them. Yeah.
Say something,
Exactly.
So it's kind of funny to even get that from your colleagues.
That's funny. You love what you do, I think. Yeah. So, but if you had a chance to do something else, what do you think that something else would be?
Well,
if you couldn't do radio anymore.
Well, you always think about that because, one day you're going to hopefully retire, right? But I do some of that stuff already.
Yeah.
My partner in art, as Lucy and I call each other. We do some shows, which is mixing history and music together. So we've done like the Great Migration of the Blues. We've done mixed poetry of Gwendolyn Brooks with the music of Curtis Mayfield. We've done some other stuff and intend to keep on doing that sort of thing. And
are these recorded programs?
I think we have recorded some of them. We haven't released anything, but yeah, it's
okay.
Some of them recorded. And we like to continue to do that sort of thing and maybe take the show on the road too. I mean, because they're educational and they're fun.
Yeah.
But there are so many things that we could do like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be
Cool.
one of the things that I do. And including being a docent for the Chicago Architectural Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a retired person's gig for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything more you want to talk about?
No, I think we're good unless you have anything else you want to ask.
No, nothing more. I can talk to you forever. I like you very much, and so we could keep going. When you just a quick note, when you do post or release those recordings, let me know so I could talk them up and steer people your direction.
Okay. All right. Do that. And well, I would say that one thing I did do, because I know we were going to talk, is, I went over my NPR career, although I was before that, just to look at the stories that I had done. And, it's like, wow, this is really, I have been grateful to be able to experience the history that I have seen and experienced, and to pass that along to listeners.
Mm-hmm.
It's been that part. It's
a privilege to have people share their stories with you.
It is. Especially, sometimes when they're in really kind of dire straits.
Yeah.
Other times when they're just happy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great thing. And be able to actually, as being a national desk reporter, able to travel the country and to see different parts of the country and even internationally. Like I covered the Chicago's bid for the Olympics and in Copenhagen. And that was fun and hard. And it was interesting to see Chicago get out Chicagoed. Because we lost our bid in the first round along with Tokyo and Brazil. Eventually got it, but the other two that remained were Spain and Brazil. But
so how did Spain and Brazil out Chicago us?
Oh my God, it was incredible. Well, number one, there was a lot of noise about, we didn't see Barack Obama enough to, to give it to Chicago or whatever. Okay. But it was, they laid it on thick. South America laid it on thick. They were like, this continent has never had the Olympics, and it's time for that to happen. And then Spain had the president there to talk about, I'm 89. I was on the IOC board, and it's time for us. So there was just shenanigans, and I guess there's
pulling every string, every heartstring they could,
every heartstring and all of that. And it was like, we had put on a pretty good plan, but it was like, announcement, Chicago out. We were like, dang. And then there were some Japanese reporters behind me in the room that we're in. And then when they said Tokyo was out, you heard this bam. And it was like, what the heck's going on? They just threw all of their equipment down. Wow. They were just so disgusted. And they were walking out. And I'm like flying, trying to find, the American folks or, folks from the United States in Chicago to talk to them. It was pretty wild.
It was dramatic. Yeah.
Very dramatic.
Yeah. Any
Ouch.
shout outs? Any shout outs you have for your editor or anybody?
Oh, yeah, sure. My editor right now is Denise Rios. And
Mm-hmm.
she takes care of the criminal justice team. The head of the national desk is Vicki Walton James. She's incredible and good. I've been lucky to have really good editors throughout my career at NPR. Ken Barkus is another editor that was my editor before Denise, and had just a good group of folks.
Cool.
Been my
Cool.
editor. Who have it. There is a woman named Sharon Ball or Sharon Green, depending on which time she was using those names, who worked with me on more of the arts pieces that I was like. One of the hardest stories that I did, she edited, which was a profile of Gwendolyn Brooks. And that story, and I don't know why, that gave me a backache.
Wow. Wow. Well,
It was
for
just,
her, you want to get it right.
I wanted to get it right. It was intense. At that time, it was near the end of her teaching career and near the end of her life. And she was tired of giving interviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, well, how can I work this so I can, get her to talk to me?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to one of her classes and hung out with her and, kind of slyly got audio and got her to answer some questions. But yeah, that was an intense story, but I was so happy to be able to talk to her. Was such an icon.
I took a picture of her a long time ago. Don't know where it is right now, but I'd met her, and it was before she was tired of talking to people. So she posed for me kindly.
Yeah.
So thank you. And thank you to all your editors who treat you so well. And hello to them. So thanks, Cheryl. And I'll be talking to you more soon.
Okay.
We're out. Thanks again for being media curious. If you'd like to get in touch with me or Cheryl Corley, here's our contact information. It's also in the info box below. If you like what we're doing here, please like, subscribe, and share. We'd appreciate it.